devotees who are thus ever dedicated and meditate on you. The yellow portion, this first portion of it talks about Saguna Nishtas, people who do Saguna Bhakti. And then this white or the light blue portion of it, which is people who meditate or do upasana of that which is indestructible, aksharam, that which cannot be muted, that which cannot, which is not changing, which cannot be kshayam, which cannot decay, which is immutable and unmanifested. Unmanifested because it is avyaktam, vyaktama theriyala. For example, avyaktam, if you want to understand something, I am thinking something and I say, this is what I think. Now I have manifested my thought in a way that you can understand because I have spoken out. If I have not spoken out and just kept in my mind, that thought, that opinion I have is avyaktam. The moment I said, this is my opinion, it is vyaktam, which is easy for somebody to understand. That which is openly manifested as a clear communication is always understood better than it is in my heart, but I have not spoken out. Avyaktam. Just to give an idea of vyaktam and avyaktam. Here obviously it is far bigger. That which is completely unmanifested. And what is avyaktam really meaning? It means that which is not very obvious or which cannot be comprehended by organs of senses and buddhi is called avyaktam. Krishna Rupam I can see na. Krishna Vak I can hear na. And Krishna Leela I can do smaranam na. So I can use my mind, I can use my eyes, I can use all my sense organs to actually comprehend Krishna's form, Krishna's name, Krishna's Leela. So it is Vyaktam. But Satchidananda Swarupam, how do I even try to comprehend that with my mind? I cannot. You know why? Because I'm going to discuss that again in the subsequent slokas. What I sees, EYE, sees is manifest. So I can easily understand and I can comprehend with my organs. But by which the eye sees, how can I see it? You see? And that is what is called avyaktam. The same Satchidananda Swarupam is what makes my eyes see. Na? And so eyes cannot see it. Na? Right? The example given by many Mahatmas and our Swamiji often quotes Ramana Bhagavan is, how does the moon gets its luster and its light? In the night, when we look around in this world, moonlight shines on the object, so I can see what is there in the night because of moonlight. Right? But can I use the moonlight to see the sun? I can't, because moonlight is merely reflecting sunlight, right? So the moment sun rises, what happens to the moon? Disappears. Sunlight completely makes the moon itself disappear. Forget moonlight then. Likewise, when the Satchidananda Swarupa Sakshatkara happens, moon is eclipsed totally, forever. Forget eclipse, it disappears. So what is the question becomes mute, that how would I use the light of my mind to comprehend that which sheds light to make the mind work? Again, I'll repeat. How can I use the light of my mind? When the mind is involved with my seeing, there is a light of the mind with which I see. If the mind is not involved in my seeing, even though I see, I don't see, right? Because you came yesterday. I didn't notice. But you saw me coming inside. Yeah, I saw, but I didn't notice. Why? Because my eyes were seeing, the mind was engaged elsewhere. And so the light of the mind makes my eyes see anybody coming in. But then, when the light, if I can use the same example, of Satchidananda, my Swarupam shines forth as Atma Sakshatkara, how can I use the light of the mind to see the light of my own Atma when light of the mind is merely a reflection of a small portion of light of Atma? When the sun rises, moon disappears. So even asking the question, can I use moonlight to see the sun in the morning, itself drops. It's a illogical question, because that moon itself is not there. Where is the light of the moon then? Adhan avyaktam. Krishna Rupam is like Chandra Samana Sundara Mukha. I can see now, na? Chandra Samana Mukhata. I can see with my eyes. I can comprehend with my heart. Guess what? That same Sachidananda Swarupam is no different from the lovely form, lovely name, lovely leelas of Krishna. Na? Anta Bhagyam Jana. Adha Anta Bhagyam. Our Narayana Bhattatri says, Hare, tathAvat bhati, sakshat, the same light, the same Swarupa, Sachidananda Rupam, is now standing in Guruvayurna. When you are seeing Guruvayurappan, you are actually touching. Brahmatai Tinduvade, Nandrendriru. We are in that state of touching, of comprehending that which is avyaktam is also standing there as vyaktam. So here, avyaktam means people who cannot approach it in a positive manner. I see Krishna is vyaktam, is my upasana. I shall chant his name Krishna is the upasana. But avyakta upasana, how do I do? What I see is not Krishna. What I hear is not Krishna. And so let me discard whatever I see. Let me discard whatever I hear, because that Krishna which I am seeking is avyaktam, is my swarupam, is that consciousness in me which makes me see. So let me discard everything which I see. Let me see what makes me see and turn my mind inward. This is avyaktam, you see. And so here Bhagavan says, evam satata yuktaye bhaktasthvam. Very simple. You finish. But then, for people who do nirguna upasana, Arjuna has to ask, echapi aksharam avyaktam. But also there are people who do the upasana of neti, neti, na iti, not this, not this, not this. When you keep on pushing everything which is seen, if you keep on pushing the act of seeing, what is left is the seer deep inside in form of Sachidanandam. Only by negation I can find him inside. And so that is this path of finding Krishna as my own Atma Swarupam, and understanding that consciousness, the light of consciousness in me is the light of consciousness of Paramatma also. And that is the way of avyakta devotee, nirguna devotees, you see. And so he is asking, between these two, tell me who understands or who knows the yoga the best. And here, very beautifully, our Bhagavat Ramanujacharya, in his Bhashyam, is saying that when we ask this question, who knows yoga vittamaha, our Bhagavat Ramanujacharya says, Anjaha, tell me the path where which of these two will attain you with the utmost ease and surety, and he interpreted. And the answer which our Bhagavan gives is in line with that interpretation of Bhagavat Ramanujacharya's Gita. So that's the question. And now he's going to answer. And I already showed you, this is Saguna Upasana, Nirguna Upasana, Sakara, Nirakara, Bheda Bhavam, Abheda Bhavam. And our Bhagavan, we have to understand the difference between Saguna Upasana. Here the question is not people who already had Bhagavat Sakshatkara and people who had Brahma Sakshatkara. That is the state of Siddha Avastha. He is now talking only Upasana versus Sakshatkara. Here we call it as Saguna Sakshatkara, which we called Bhagavat Sakshatkara. Here it is called Brahmanubhavam or Atma Sakshatkara or Brahma Sakshatkara. You see, here you have the actual Sakshatkara of Bhagavan Sri Krishna. Upasana is, I am doing the mental projection of Krishna only. Nobody denies that Upasana is in the mental plane only. In the mind, I am imagining, Sanchintayet, Chintayet. I am thinking our Bhagavan in the cavity of my heart here is about this tall here and Angushta Matram, Amalam, and I am thinking he has a lovely little crown which is shining like 1,000 suns, and then you have a lovely peacock feather on top of the crown. Curly locks are now flowing from the sides of the crowns. You have a very broad or lovely forehead, and there is a wonderful tilakam of Kasturi Tilakam Lalata Palake, and then wonderful nose, like the ellupu. They say, there is a small flower of sesame flower, such a lovely little nose, and wonderful cheeks which are reflecting like mirrors, Darpana Kapolam, and like this wonderful bimba fruit. Ripe bimba fruit will be very red and very soft. Like that, there are your lips and wonderful chin, and you have Samakarnam, and you have Karna Kuntalam, and like a conch, like a Shanka. Your neck has 3 lines there, and then you have Bujam, Dvibujam or Chaturbujam, and you are having all this wonderful jewels in your shoulders and also in our wrist. And then Bhagavan is holding a lovely flute, and he's wearing a lot of rings in his hands, and he's also tapping the flute while playing the flute. And Vakshastalam, Kaustubhamani, and Srivatsa Maru, Akhandra Vakshastalam, and wonderful Nabi where even Brahma appeared, and then wonderful shining Pitambaram, lotus-like feet, which are placed one below the other, which is reversed placed like Vyatyasta Padam, and then wonderful Nakam, which are like pearls, and Bhagavan is smiling, the eyebrows are arched, and the eyes are like blooming lotuses, showering only compassion, love, and prema. In the dhyanam is the dhyanam we do as a upasana. Is it Krishna? Not yet. It is only the mind. After listening to Bhagavatam or after listening from Guru Upadesam, I am doing dhyana. It is only the mind. Now understand, when we get a deity for the temple, we do Kumbhavishekam, we do Sthapanam, and as we worship the deity slowly, the Sanidhyam increases. Soon anybody comes there can feel the presence of deity. Now it is no longer what it was before the installation. You see, the moment a sculptor looks at the rock, touches it and says, this shall be made for dating Umburde, it does the samskara of the rock. Now rock is no longer rock. It is now become something which is the deity itself. So externally, when we keep on worshipping a deity, we get the divine presence in the deity. And our Bhagavan says to Uddhava Swami, there are 8 types of pradishta. One is Manomaya pradishta is also there. So when in our mind, without changing the form or the style of the deity or the deity itself, as we keep on doing dhyana in the heart again, slowly that rupam in the heart, which is a mental conception only, start getting sanidhyam, and suddenly one day the mental conception is completely destroyed and the real sakshatkar, divinity shines forth like a lightning in our heart. Bhagavad Sakshatkar. That is what is shown for our Dhruva. That is what happened to our Narada Maharshi. Narada Maharshi sat down in the first canto to do only the mental dhyana of the Vasudeva Rupam shown by the Bhagavatas who were his Guru Mandala. But as he did, Shanihi Harihi, that which is Sachidananda Rupam, that which is the actual Bhagavan Sri Krishna, flashed forth in his heart. That is Sakshat. You see? So Upasana is the mental projection, but then after that, Bhava Balatinal, Bhavanatita, Sat Bhavatil Irupadun is a version shown by some of the people in Jnana Marga, but Bhava Balam, because now you see Krishna is in my heart, Krishna is in my heart. Slowly Krishna is very pleased with your bhavam, with your bhakti, with your shraddha, shraddhaya pariyupasatena, and then he decides, now enough of his mind conceiving me, I will show you who I am, and then he shines forth in our heart, Bhagavad Sakshatkara. If we ever get that Bhagavad Sakshatkara, people say 3 months, 4 months, we can't do anything at all, because that's like a million suns glowing in our heart. It is like a million volts of electricity in the body. So Bhagavan ensures we can actually bear it and only give Sakshatkara. And that is what is the difference between Upasana and Bhagavad Sakshatkara. That Bhagavad Sakshatkara is nothing to do with mind. In Kapila Upakhyanā it is said that once you have that Sakshatkara, it is no longer mind. Mind is now destroyed. It is me shining forth in the lovely form. And that is the reason why our Swamiji also sings in Govinda Kamadhenum Bhajami Aravindakshanamadeyam Bhajami. In that, the third line of the charanam, which comes later, is Nishabdamana Sancharino. If you want Govardhana Giridharalal Sakshatkara, Nishabdamana. The mind is completely, completely silenced. And in that silence of the mind, this shines forth. So it is not to do with mind. It is kalpana kadayadu. Sakshatna, truth. Vastavam. That is the beauty of this upasana. In that upasana, we have to constantly, it is like you have fire. There are embers, there is embers which is the ashes which cover the fire. I have to keep removing the ashes all the time. And the fire which is already in shines forth. So I have 16 avaranas, you see. So 16 coverings, parda. And each time I chant or I use pranavam to do vicharam again and again and again, to somehow get rid of all these coverings which covers my Sachidananda Atma Swarupam. And then when all the coverings are removed, that which is shines forth. And that is the Vichara versus Brahmanubhava. After Brahmanubhava, mind is completely destroyed. You see Brahman everywhere. Sarvam Brahmamayo Re Re Sarvam Brahmamayo Kim Pataniyo Kima Pataniyo. Whether what I read, that which is read, and the act of reading, Brahman, you see. And the one who sees, that act of seeing, and that which is seen, Brahman. All the three, it's called Triputi. These three things now, whole phenomena happens because of three only. It's called Triputi. There has to be a seer, there has to be the act of seeing, and there has to be an object to be seen. There has to be a hearer, there has to be the act of hearing, and there has to be a shabdam for me to hear. Similarly, object to be tasted, and there has to be a taster, and this process of tasting. These are the three. These three suddenly becomes one, collapses into one, which is Sarvam Brahmamayam. Who is the one seeing? What is being seen? What is not seen? Allam Brahma. You see? And that is the state of Mahatmas. And for Bhaktas, Anta Ramamayam. Ye Jagat Anta Ramamayam. They see it as Sachidanandam. These Bhaktas, they see it as Kamvayam Agnim Salilam Mahimscha. Everything is Hare's Tanuhu. This is all the body of Hari. There is nothing apart from Hari. And they see everything as Ramamayam. Everything is Sarvam Vasudeva Mayam. For them, everything is Krishna. You see? And that is the beauty of these two upasanas. Nirguna upasana lands up with the Sakshatkara of Sachidanandam. I am merely a small wave in this giant ocean of Sachidanandam is the upasana. When I am moving, I am like a wave moving along the ocean without departing from the ocean, without being separate from the ocean, without not being ocean. Adu solrar. Chandrasekhara Bharati Swamiji, Mahasannidhanam, who was Mahasannidhanam before, of Sringeri Mutt, is training his Sishya that when you are moving, how do you do Nirguna Upasana? Imagine when you are moving, don't think floor is different, I am different, I am moving, floor is not moving. No, no. Like a wave progressing in an ocean without being inseparable from the ocean, without not being ocean at all at any point of time, yet a wave moves within the ocean. Likewise, this ocean of Sachidanandam, when I am moving, it is like a small wave moving along the same ocean. Without that, Ada Abheda Bhava. When I am actually going to sleep or in layam, imagine that that little wave which was running in that ocean finally has become calm in that same placid ocean in the middle of the ocean. The Madri, every second, Sanniyamya Indriya Grama. Somehow don't allow the Indriyas to get away from Abheda Bhava. That which exists only one, which is Sachidanandam, that alone exists. So even when I look at the world which has so much diversity, I constantly remind myself, Undendriru, Brahmam undendriru, Guru Pada Dhyaname. Every answer is there in our Madhura Gita. In that our Swamiji says, constantly be. Iru is the operative term. Adudha Mahavakyam for Nirguna Upasana. Iru na be, which means don't think, don't do, be. So, Undendriru, it is there. Nana Brahma Nirakarod. Anirakaranamastu Anirakaraname Astu Undrarlia Dhyana Shloka. So it is the Shanti Patam as it said there. Our Swamiji is using the Unde. Anirakaramasthu. Don't do Nirakaranam. It is there. Consciousness is there. So be there. Unde. And Iru. Be that. Brahmam Ondrendre. Be in that unity. Ondru. It is only one. And wherever you see diversity, go back to that one, Brahmam. You see. And how do you do that? Guru Pada Dhyaname. Don't allow the mind to leave the feet of the Guru. That is their only Saguna Upasana for even these Nirguna Nishtas. If at all they can do Upasana, they do only Guru Upasana. Adum Guru Upadesa Upasana. Guru Pada Dhyanamna Mahavakyam Padam Solrar liya. He's saying na tathAmasi and the pada dhyanam. And it also means Guru's feet dhyanam. Adum padam nane. It also means Guru udiya padam gardu sachidananda. You see, that's why when we do Guru dhyanam, we say na Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwar. Guru Sakshat Param Brahmam is Guru Padam. Guru's basic Swarupam dam Padam. So Guru Pada Dhyaname Nandrendri. And Swamiji is teaching us how to do Vicharam. Ketkum voligalil yellam. Whenever you listen to all the sounds outside, don't do Vichara of sweet music. It's a harsh sound, irritating sound, bitter sound. Anahata Om. Put all the sound inside Om. You see. Anahata Voliye Nandrendri. Don't look at diversity. Go to that oneness. Not this. This is not true. Om is the truth. Om iti Brahma. This, if you go back, please go back and listen to that wonderful Madhura Geetam. Listening to that Madhura Geetam itself, அப்படியே அடக்கிட்டோம் மனசு. அவ்வளவு அழகான காணும் காட்சிகளில் எல்லாம் காணாத காட்சியே நன்றென்றீரு. Whenever we are seeing the scenes outside, don't get diverted by the diversity of the scenes. Kanada kachi, that which is not seen. What is not seen? Not something below the wall, etc. The seer is not seen. So instead of focusing your mind on the scene, ask yourself, who is that within me who is actually making me see? Who is the seer? Adan Kanada kachi. There are only two things in this world, seer and seen, observed and observer. So instead of focusing on the observed, Swamiji says, Kanum kaatchigalil ellam kanada kaatchiye nandrendiru. Focus on who is the seer, consciousness, Sachidananda. Is not Sanniyamya Indriya. And that is the beauty of that. No, beautiful paths. Now the question is, who knows yoga better? And Bhagavan is going to answer this one because it is easy for them. And they don't have to rely on their effort. I shall take care of them is what he's going to answer. The reason being, if it is something like a game, we can say, let me take the tougher thing and try. Life, if we lose this opportunity of human birth, that's it. Would you ever say, let me try adventure sport when it can be a threat to our life? We won't, na? That is merely body. And that also we won't try. This is Atmanasam. And that is the reason why Bhagavan says, this is a grand path, beautiful path. Mahatmas have trodden this path. But Arjuna, I am your well-wisher. If you go in this path, I can fully take care of it. If you go in that path, I can only give outside support. You have to rely on your efforts. That way, Swami Bhagavan Sri Krishna says, Saguna Upasana is going to be there, is what he's saying. I hope a few more pieces are falling into place, because Bhagavad Gita has to be vichar. We have to do vichar. Vichar, na? You have to contemplate. It is not something that we hear it once and don't work. So we shall contemplate more and more on this, and he will take the future shlokas, the second, third, fourth, etc., the coming days.
Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna,